My name is Ibiere Sek, and I'm a trial lawyer here in Los Angeles. I have my own practice, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Alex Wheeler, who recently lost his home in the LA fires. So, Alex, for the folks who aren't as familiar with you as I am with you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, Evie, this is my 20th year of practicing law, and I have been a plaintiff's lawyer for 17, almost 18 of those 20 years. And what that means is I've been representing people in injury and environmental tort cases and class actions. So my practice is 100% representing people in those kind of cases where there's been either, something single event like a car crash, all the way up to the Porter Ranch gas leak where we represented over 30,000 people. So I've got a pretty diverse practice, but uh, laser focused in a way on those kind of tort, personal injury, uh, mass disaster events.
And so, because I've worked with you, I know the sort of work that you do and the people that you represent. I know that you file lawsuits and you're typically suing insurance companies, municipalities, state, local governments, uh, large corporations, and really speaking up for people. But here you are on the other side of this, having lost your home recently in the fires. And I'm wondering, what is your plan going forward? We know that a lot is unknown about the origins of these fires, but based on what you have now, the information you have now, what is your thinking?
Yeah, I think it's really important that everybody realize on Tuesday, January 7th, there were many fires going, and each fire has its own cause. So they are distinct and they are different. For example, in the Eaton fire, the Altadena area, there looks to be some early strong evidence that that was caused by a public utility. And if that's the case, there's going to be extensive litigation over the cause of that fire. What responsibility does that utility owe to everybody who've lost their homes, the people that are dead, the people that are injured? So there's going to be property damage, personal injury, the people that have smoke inhalation claims. What are the long term environmental effects of all of this to the communities, to the drinking water?
Right.
The list is endless, but for the Eden fire, at least right now, there seems to be evidence that there could be a utility responsible for what happened.
And can you tell me what you mean when you say a utility?
Sure, Southern California Edison. They've got a lot of lines in that area, and we don't know yet, but it looks like there may have been a down line that connected with some of the dry brush. In a windstorm, it doesn't take much forethought to know what's going to happen if you put all those environmental effects together. So Southern California Edison, I know as we speak today, has been sued, and we are also part of a group of lawyers that are bringing lawsuits on behalf of homeowners that lost their homes, given the early evidence that this was caused by SoCal um, Edison and negligence. We'll see how the evidence bears out, but folks need to really assess early on and consult with us about whether or not they have a home in the area, whether or not they had a loss, and if so, at the state of the evidence at the time they contact us, does a case look like a good idea? Yeah.
So, how does a homeowner or someone who was impacted by the LA fires go about finding a lawyer, evaluating whether or not that lawyer is the right fit? Do they have the right experience? What are the things that someone should be considering when they're looking for a lawyer?
You know, Evie, I always tell people if you're hiring a lawyer, ask them their trial experience. That's just no matter what kind of case, that's at the top. I know you say the same thing,
Yeah.
right? There's so many lawyers out there. We are bombarded in Los Angeles with lawyer advertisements. But I tell people that don't know lawyers, that don't know the community, the profession, if you're hiring a lawyer to litigate a lawsuit, ask them when is the last time you stood before a member of 12 jurors. Because I would never hire a lawyer to litigate a case, to file a lawsuit that wasn't a trial lawyer. Because the only way anybody's ever going to get a fair settlement, a real fair dollar settlement, is if the other side knows they're dealing with a trial lawyer. There are a lot of litigators, there are not a lot of trial lawyers. So I would begin with that. And then the other thing I'd want to know is the law firm you're hiring set up to handle this level of litigation? How many employees does the law firm have? How many lawyers does the law firm have? What experience in mass torts? What experience in environmental cases? We talked about our firm handling the Porter Ranch case. That was a community that was devastated, not by a fire, it was a gas leak, but there were 35, 40,000 plaintiffs that had their own case. And it took a lot of resources for us to deal with handling that case, with prosecuting that case. And you want to make sure that you hire a law firm that has done this before, that's not just getting ads together on Instagram or on TV and hoping to gather cases to send to somebody else.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that. You want to hire a law firm that's been here before, that has a track record of success, that has the resources, the power to handle it. And there aren't many out there.
A concern of mine is that there are people out there who are taking advantage of the people who have been impacted by this fire. They've been knocking on their doors, reaching out to them on social media, just trying to get them to sign up with them. And I worry about that because, you want to make sure that people who have really been harmed by this are represented by people who are qualified to represent them. There's so much at stake. People have lost so much. And the thought that maybe they would find themselves in the hands of someone who is not really looking out for their best interest, or at worst, or simply just doesn't know what they're doing. And so I think what you're sharing is important. You want people that if they're going to consider filing a lawsuit, that they find the right people to do it for them.
Yeah, and I'm reminded, with these 2025 Los Angeles fires, that these kind of events bring out both the best in people and the
we've
worst,
seen that.
and the worst in people.
And we've seen that.
We've seen it, and it plays out time and time again. I mean, when there's a big disaster, communities come together, and this is the majority. People helping each other. Mm-hmm. Those images of firefighters and police rushing to the scene, neighbors helping each other, yes. The goodness of our hearts coming out. And that's, thank God, that's almost everywhere. And then we see the ugliest of human nature. We see predators, we see scams, and I think we're going to see a lot of email scams. People, here's your check from State Farm, click on it, and it's a phishing scam, and they want your bank routing information. Mm-hmm. So I would advise, and do advise everybody, to be on the lookout for people trying to profit.
Yes.
When COVID happened, and there was the PPP, people are, thank goodness, in jail today because they took advantage of the federal government when the government came to the aid of people affected by COVID. We're going to see that same thing play out with this.
Absolutely.
So be vigilant.
Yes, we're seeing people being solicited by contractors, mm-hmm. Asking them to put down payments for them to come in and begin construction in a place where no one can even access the property. So you're right, just reminding people to be vigilant, and of course, if you are ever in a circumstance or a situation where you're confronted with legal documents, what have you, it makes sense. It makes sense to reach out to a lawyer. I just think that that's the wise thing to do. I'll also add, and I'm sure you've been experiencing this as well, is that in the last week or so, just people we know people who are non-lawyers. We have beauticians, we have mechanics, we have all people from all walks of life that we interface with, we're in contact with, and those people are the ones that are reaching out to us and saying, hey, I know you're a lawyer. Can you answer this question for me? can you guide me through the process of filing a claim? And some of them are now asking the question, can I file a lawsuit if it is warranted? And those are the kind of questions that, of course, we want to be able to answer.
Yeah, three main fires, three main causes. They each have to be analyzed separately. For the Palisades fire, there's a huge investigation ongoing about the cause of that. Nobody really knows. Uh, but there's also a lot of people talking about why did they run out of water when they were putting those fires out. I'm on all of the WhatsApp chats and the forums and Nextdoor, and everybody is irate at how the city handled this. And apparently there was a reservoir that had no water in it, so that when the firefighters hooked up, to try to fight the fires, there was nothing there. There was no water pressure. We heard Rick Caruso come out the night of the fires saying, I'm here, I'm watching my properties burn down, and these firefighters don't have water to fight it with. So there's a lot of criticisms going out against the city and against the county for the Palisades fire because at least now there's no evidence of any utility that was responsible. So it's not just utilities, it can be governments and cities that maybe didn't start the fire, but are negligent in the way that they handled what was certainly a foreseeable event. So,
And there are ongoing investigations into this. Governor Newsom of California, has already announced that he plans to investigate whether or not things were handled properly in these communities. Were there was there were they properly resourced? Were there any missteps? And so we will get answers to those questions soon enough, I would hope. But what is immediate to most of these folks is, how do you get back on your feet?
yeah.
How do you begin the process of planning what your future is going to look like? How do you rebuild? Those are the questions we're hoping that we're going to help people answer. And if they decide that they want to take it a step further, if there is a claim, to file a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And for now, for the Eaton fire, it looks like there's going to be extensive litigation. So folks need to call us, get information. We'll send them everything they need about our firm's background, the cases that we've handled, and our experience in the area. And then they make their own decision. We hope they come to us, of course.
If you're on social media, you cannot miss all of the ads that are popping up from law firms holding themselves out as wildfire attorneys, or suggesting that there is going to be a class action of some sort. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, first of all, this will not be a class action. That doesn't mean there won't be class actions filed. But this is what's known as a mass tort, which all that means is everybody files their own case because it's their unique circumstances. A class action is usually for economic loss, for small amount of dollars lost over a big number of people. This is a case where everybody's unique, everybody has a unique policy, everybody has a unique loss. So they will file their own lawsuits, and they'll all be grouped together in one courtroom in downtown Los Angeles. It may take two judges to oversee this one. But it's a mass tort, not a class action, and it will go on for several years. There's no way around that. The Porter Ranch environmental litigation lasted, I think, at least 6 years is what it was from beginning to end. And there can be big payouts. We have to front the money and fund the lawsuit for 6 years and fight huge corporate defendants. And that's why our fee structure the way it is the way that it is. But these do not happen quickly. These take years to resolve. We've got to investigate, file the lawsuits, do the discovery, prepare for trial, talk to expert witnesses, and be ready to go in order to get what's a fair settlement or fair jury verdict on behalf of all of our clients.
For the people who've never had to hire an attorney, how do they go about doing that? If they have nothing, they don't have any means by which to pay them, they don't know the process, what can you tell us?
Yeah, one of the first questions I almost always get is, how much do I have to pay you? I don't know that I can afford a lawyer. And happily, our business model of representing individual clients against big environmental defendants is we front everything, we pay all the costs, you owe us nothing unless there is recovery in your case. So people sometimes know about that from car accidents, right? Contingency fees. It's the same thing in a case like this. You hire a lawyer, they should not charge you anything up front. They should take their fees and costs if they win. And that's what we do.
So if a lawyer says to you, I need you to pay or put down a certain amount of money, go the other way. Is
Yeah.
that fair?
Yeah. If a plaintiff's attorney in an injury case or a wildfire case like this wants money from you before that lawyer has money for you, watch out.
We are expecting, if there is a lawsuit to be filed, thousands and thousands and thousands of people to file a lawsuit. And so this is very different than your typical case, your typical lawsuit, because you're going to have so many people filing at the same time against the same defendant and entity. Can you explain to me that process, how those cases are brought together or consolidated, how they're litigated or run through the court system, all of those things?
Yeah. Thankfully, our court system here in Los Angeles, which is the biggest in the nation, is equipped to handle these kind of cases. They all get grouped. There's a statute that covers it. They all get grouped into one courtroom with one very, very experienced judge who will handle it. And they're consolidated, which means that each plaintiff doesn't do their own investigation. They don't do their own discovery, their own depositions. There is a leadership committee that is set up that steers the case, and there are lawyers that are in charge of different aspects of it. This is a case that's going to have tens of thousands of plaintiffs. There are going to be hundreds of lawyers, and there will be a group of leadership of very experienced lawyers that do the actual work to get this case ready for trial. So if you're a client sitting there saying, what does that mean for my case? It means that your lawyer will sign you up, file a case on your behalf, and they will let you know what information they need from you. And that's all you're going to have to do. You're going to have to compile the information. You have to give your lawyer information about what you lost and what you owned and information about what your home was worth. And the rest is going to be participating in the discovery process, sitting for a deposition where the defendants get to ask you questions about losses you experienced. If you had any health problems as a result of smoke inhalation. But they're all grouped into one, and they're efficiently handled by our very complex and dedicated judicial officers here in Los Angeles.
If someone's, sorry, can someone sue their insurance company if the insurance company undervalues their home?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about the mass tort, the lawsuit part against, the city in the Palisades fire potentially, and against SoCal Edison in the Eaton fire. And we talked about making a claim with your insurance company. As the years go on and as the months go on, if people feel that they're not treated fairly by the insurance company, and folks are going to feel this way, they're not valuing my house the way I want. There's a big dispute about what my engagement ring was worth or my collection of antique books. I mean, people own things that are very, very valuable to them. The insurance company may not see it the same way. So I do anticipate in the months and years ahead that people will have big disputes with their insurance company's evaluation of not just their home, but the things that they own. And we see people calling us all the time about that's called first party insurance bad faith. It's called a first party claim. You, as the policyholder, have a dispute with your insurance company, and we handle those cases routinely as well.
A lot of attorneys, a lot of firms are promoting themselves as wildfire attorneys.
Yeah.
That wasn't the case 7 days ago. The question is, why? Why the change?
Whenever there's a big event like this, you will see lawyers that suddenly become experts in fields they're not really experts in. We see that with gas leaks. We see that with fires. We see that when there's an FDA warning about a drug that's hurting people. Uh, Lawyers start advertising. And what their aim is to do is to sign up cases, bundle them together as if it were bonds or stocks, and offload them to other lawyers. So there's lawyers that come out of the woodwork that purport to be experts in areas that they're not. That's why I always tell people, ask the lawyer you hire in a wildfire case or in whatever case it is. Have you done these before? What's your track record? Do you have experience in these? Consumers have to be asking those questions of their lawyers.
If anyone has any questions about this process or they just want to learn more, how do they contact you?
I think the best place is parris.com, PARRIS.com. We've got dedicated websites for the two fires we are investigating and for the Eaton fire that we're actually filing lawsuits on behalf of clients for. So our website's the best way. We've got our phone numbers that are easy to access as well, but pretty much everybody goes to the internet these days for those.
So, Alex, there's a lot of people who are watching this and have reached out to both of us. What would you like to tell them?
It's a very unique loss. I don't think anybody imagines losing their home. There's a lot of tragedies out there. This is one that is very unique and a very profound loss. Thank God most people were safe and there's not a huge loss of life. But the loss of a home is incredibly deep running, and people are grieving just like they are with the huge magnitude of other losses. And I just want people to know that I am very much going through that same process right now. And there's a lot of mental health resources. I'm very happy to see people, reaching out to counselors and family members and spiritual advisors because, our homes are special to us and we don't realize that until they're gone. So I'm going through that grieving process. I'm going through that investigation process myself as a policyholder, as a homeowner. And so as I walk these steps, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be able to represent clients along that journey as well. So I'm with you. I've been there. I'm going through it myself, and I am skin in the game. That's the phrase that comes to mind. I want to see a just outcome on all of these victims,
Yes.
all of their cases. Yeah.